Protesters had defied a curfew in many parts of the valley this morning and attacked IRP picket at Hanikadal area in downtown Srinagar. The police post at downtown's Bana Mohalla and the police post in Sopore have also been attacked. The SRTC restroom in Baramulla has also been set on fire. Yesterday in Srinagar, a mob set fire to a government vehicle. The government has now rushed in 3 companies of the Rapid Action Force to Srinagar. On Wednesday, the Home Minister P. Chidambaram responded to questions in Parliament about the government's plans to end the violence in the valley. During his address, he appealed to Kashmiris to show faith in their elected representatives and to remain peaceful.
Sir, the central government deeply regrets the loss of lives in Jammu and Kashmir. Many of them were young men and children. I convey our deepest sympathies to the families of the deceased. Even while we regret these incidents, I would appeal to the people of Jammu and Kashmir to put an end to the current cycle of violence.
All right, and to help us understand what really is going wrong in the valley and what's the possible solution to the violence that we've seen. Remember, this is day 56 and the violence continues. Muzaffar Shah, Senior Vice President of the Jammu Kashmir Awami National Conference, is here with me in studio. Mr. Shah, thanks very much for joining us here on NewsX. Day 56, as we just told our viewers. What's the solution to the problem?
Definitely not the Rapid Action Force. What I heard Mr. Chidambaram saying just now, if he meant it from his heart, things would have been better. And there are better ways to deal with the situation there than to send Rapid Action Force. What is Rapid Action Force supposed to do? The minute you announce their deployment to be done in Jammu and Kashmir, we have had 29 deaths from that time. The more force you put there, the more guns you try to open up there, you will have more killings, and that is not the answer. I request Government of India, if the Home Minister or the Prime Minister is watching this program by any chance, sir, your policy on Kashmir is totally lopsided. This will not work. Please change tact. It is dialogue that will work, not Rapid Action Force.
All right, Mr. Muzaffar Shah, we're just going to queue up a few visuals for our viewers, and I'd like you to react to that about children participating in protests on the streets in Srinagar. This is clearly a matter of serious concern. This is the last thing that children in the valley should be doing. They should be in schools, in colleges, they should be studying. This is rather surprising, don't you think? And what's the solution to this?
You see, you have to go back to how did it start? It started with the encounter in Matsil. On a funeral you fired. You killed somebody. Then there was a chain reaction. And small boys came out. And today the situation has come to such a pass that now mothers are coming out. So you cannot, that's what I said. I'm telling this to the Prime Minister of the country, telling this to the Home Minister. This is not the way. Your dispensation in Jammu and Kashmir, the coalition politics in Jammu and Kashmir has totally failed miserably in containing law and order. This is not the way to deal with the situation.
All right, you've called it a complete constitutional breakdown.
Absolutely.
In the state. You've asked for all members of the State Assembly to tender in their resignations. But is that really, is the government stepping down, is the government resigning, are members, representing members of the people resigning, is that the real solution? Or perhaps is there something else to immediately stop the violence that we're seeing?
Sir, to stop the violence, what you do is, you immediately, though it may be tough, you withdraw the Armed Forces Special Powers Act right now, as of now I am talking to you. You announce unconditional dialogue with the people in Kashmir, with the representatives, not the guys who have been elected to the assembly. Those people are nowhere to be seen. Had they been representatives, what we call representatives, they would have been on the road with the people. Where are there people who have voted for them? That was with sophisticated election manipulation and rigging that you have come up. And today, at the time of the test, nobody is there, sir.
Now, Mirwais Omar has also written to the United Nations about the really, really concerning situation, the visuals that we've just shown our viewers on the screen of children protesting. But surely there's got to be also the flip side of things. You had the hardline Hurriyat faction led by Mr. Gilani where Mr. Gulani yesterday came out and appealed to protesters not to protest violently, because there's also, it takes two hands to clap.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll agree with that.
Absolutely.
And there's also a need to end the violence on the streets of Kashmir, across the valley, before the government can then turn its attention to taking steps to redress the people's problems.
This is what I'm trying to say. You had to do this 2 weeks ago. Now you're trying to meet the stone pelting with rapid action force. Now if hundreds and thousands of our police and troops have not been able to quell this situation, I mean, I fail to understand what is rapid action force going to do.
So what is the other way to quell this
Sir,
situation?
I said, you tell the people in Jammu and Kashmir, they are highly agitated. People in Kashmir are agitated over the misuse of force that has been done since the last 6 weeks. It is terrible. We don't deal with any protest in the country like that.
But at the same time, the Chief Minister has appealed. The Chief Minister has appealed to the people to stop this violence.
I don't think his appeal will work anymore.
Mr. Gilani is also the leader of the hardline Hurriyat faction.
Chief Minister
Gilani has also appealed to stop
Chief Minister,
this violence.
unfortunately, should have done this when the Musil encounter took place.
All right, so
they have not apologized to the people. I am again telling you, sir, in spite of so many deaths, nobody has truly apologized to the people there that, please, can we do something? And you asked me, what do you want to do? I would say, repeal the Public Safety Act, repeal the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, and make an announcement that we are going in for an unconditional dialogue. If you go for an unconditional dialogue, I think this thing will stop.
Home Minister P. Chidambaram has spoken about support for violence and protesters from across the border, from leaders and terrorist leaders in Pakistan, occupied Kashmir, across the border. Do you agree with his assessment on what's going on? Even Chief Minister Omar Abdullah has spoken about funds being channeled into the valley from across the border, and that's what's really supporting these protests that we're seeing in the streets.
Sir, if you know that funds are being channeled from across the border and you have not been doing anything about it, that means Mr. Chidambaram, with due respects to him, and Umar Abdullah, I don't think they know how to do their job. How have the funds come in, if you say so? And the day our Home Minister made that comment about Lashkar-e-Toiba, that was putting fuel to the fire there. And the day Umar Abdullah came up and said, I'm going to use rapid action force, he chose law and order situation dealing to the political process. These two things have triggered the situation there, and I would again, with due respect, say that both of them do not know how to deal with Jammu and Kashmir. I'm sorry to say that.
All right, so you see absolutely no justification in the Home Minister making the claims that he...
Nothing, and I think he should seriously think what he is talking about.
There's been this two-day conference that we've seen on the situation in Jammu Kashmir, and we've also seen Omar Abdullah, the Chief Minister, come to rush to Delhi, hold meetings with the Home Minister and the Prime Minister. Do you think there's a problem in the manner in which both the centre as well as the state are looking at the options before them in the valley?
Absolutely, sir. This conference that you talked about, this was in the backdrop of the very critical situation in Kashmir. Our President Begum Khalida Shah thought it wise to come to Delhi with civil society members drawn from Srinagar, Jammu and Ladakh, and talk to the civil society here. And this conference was a very huge success because people from the country came down, talked to the people, and we had a very big contingent of the media with us. Because as you know, the local media there is gagged. You never know, while I'm talking to you, your channel might be stopped in Kashmir. And these were the reasons we were wanting through this conference to tell the people in the country that, look, this is the reality what is happening inside Kashmir today. For God's sake, wake up to this. And we have come up with certain proposals for the government of India, for the people of Kashmir in this conference, which I am going to open up today in a press conference at 5:30. We have spelt ways that how we could immediately stop this trouble back home.
All right, let's very quickly talk also about the aspirations of the average Kashmiri youth, because from whatever protests we've seen in the past 56 days, today being the 56th day, the past 55 days, we've seen a majority of the youth in the valley come out. Do you think their aspirations on a larger issue are not being met, and what should be done to meet their aspirations?
Absolutely. We have given a suggestion, I think, 5 years ago. I have given it recently to the Prime Minister's delegation. Earlier, when Mr. Chidambaram came there, he said there are two ways of looking at Kashmir. One is you can no longer keep the Kashmir situation a settlement, a peaceful settlement, which unfortunately it's a very complex matter. It is between two major powers. It's between India and Pakistan.
Right.
People of Jammu and Kashmir are there on both sides of the line of control.
But the
It's
Prime
a very
Minister has
complex
said
issue.
that there will be no redrawing
Look,
of
sir,
borders.
the Prime Minister, with due respects, we hold him in very high respect in Kashmir. And I have told him face to face that you promised zero tolerance to the Kashmiris. Sir, but after that, your own government, your own agencies, and your state government, they failed you in deliverance of that promise to the people of Kashmir on zero tolerance. Nobody has actually been booked. Yes, you have suspended some people, you have constituted inquiry. That's not enough. A human life anywhere, it cannot be got back. Tufail Ahmad Mattu, he was the only son of their father. How do you get him back? Nothing has been done to those people.
Very true.
Now, why this conference we put up here is because people in this country do not know what is exactly happening in their part of the state.
Well, the opposition politicians haven't helped in, they've been more opportunistic than otherwise. But one final question, if I were to ask you to review Omar Abdullah's chief ministership, would you say that it is his experience that is perhaps coming out and leading to the situation in the valley? Or is it something that even the centre is to blame for?
Sir, I don't want to sound biased. Kashmir is not a child's play. It's a very sensitive issue. And I really don't understand how the